14 years ago, Minecraft player 541 strangely disappeared from a server and was never seen or heard from again. That is, until now. Over the last few months, evidence from various sources have been leading everybody to believe we're extremely close to finding player 541 and finding out what exactly happened. How 541 disappeared is a long story, which we've covered in my last two videos, so if you want a detailed look at what happened, I recommend you watch those first before moving on, as this might get a little confusing without proper context. But if you're up to speed, here's a brief overview of what we know so far. 541 was last seen by Laundryman, a player who was showing 541 around on a server back in 2010. Out of nowhere, 541 started acting up and made his way to an open spot between the trees, looking up at what we think is some sort of vessel, before completely vanishing only a few seconds later. The cobblestone vessel seems to be made by an entity we call the Elders. We got this name from a message they imprinted on a white glowing block. This, however, has not been the only message we've seen from them. They seem to use symbols from the standard galactic alphabet to communicate, but the problem is, the order of which these symbols are shown is completely random the longer the messages get. With help from some of these messages the community translated, and 541's last text message sent on the server, we successfully located a spot close to where 541 disappeared, leading us to what we think is the Elders' world or dimension. In this world, it seems the Elders built these sort of monoliths which they used to teleport to various locations. Whether that's the only purpose of these structures, we don't know, but what we do know is that they work. We also think that the Elders aren't hostile and are instead trying to tell us something, as they haven't made any effort to harm me while I was wandering around in their world. If anything, it's starting to seem as if everything that has happened so far was actually planned and set in motion by the Elders themselves. Following this mysterious trail has led us here, a pyramid-shaped structure with another white block residing inside. The big difference here, however, is that this specific block gave us a whole list of random symbols, leaving us with a whole lot to translate and to make sense of basically a bunch of gibberish. Luckily for me, I have the best community on top of this on our Discord, which you can join in the first link in the description by the way, and we've managed to figure out what all the symbols mean. Now that we're all up to speed, let's start to unpack this. The white block inside the pyramid left us with 13 lines of symbols, each translating to what we think is one part of a full sentence. So let's lay this out. On the left side, we'll put all of the symbols in the order they were shown on the block. And on the right side, we'll put the corresponding translation from the standard galactic alphabet. Doing this leaves us with numerous possible combinations of the words on the right side, a few of which our community has actually put together. The most likely combination everybody came up with was the following: Chains of Truth, a gateway to a safe place, not here. Now, even though we have a solid string of words here, it doesn't really answer any questions. After sitting on this for a while, I figured maybe the Elders could help us out. Maybe they were waiting for us to solve this all along, and we're just awaiting an answer. So, I rejoined the server, retraced my steps all the way to the pyramid where I was met with an Elder standing in front of the entrance yet again. This time, he wasn't moving aside. I walked up to them and put the sentence in the chat, seeing if it caused any reaction from the entity. With no luck though, the entity didn't move at all. Now this could mean two things. A, this was not the correct sentence, or B, we're just not allowed inside the pyramid a second time. Considering option B wouldn't get us any closer to finding 541's whereabouts, I decided to give the symbol puzzle another try myself. After going over all the combinations you guys came up with, it surprised me nobody had thought of the following one: a place of chains, not safe here, and gateway to truth. Although seemingly a weird message, I thought it was worth giving a shot. So I went back to try again, and this time, something happened. What you're about to see is the raw recording of everything that happened next. To my surprise, the combination of these words actually seemed to work, guiding me back into the pyramid. But the pyramid changed since last time. Now, a monolith was placed instead of the white block. But this monolith was different as well. As mentioned before, almost all structures we've seen from the Elders so far are either made from solid colored blocks or simply cobblestone, including their supposed vessel. So seeing a bedrock structure kind of makes me think it's of more importance to them. As I approached the monolith inside the pyramid, I had no idea what to expect. All this time we've been guided on a journey by these entities, not knowing what'll happen next or where all of this is headed, nor do we know if player 541 has been here as well. But we're here to find 541 and bring them back, and with that goal in mind, I stepped up to the monolith. And just like that, I was suddenly in this massive yet very lonely place made entirely out of bedrock and brick. There was absolutely no one, not even another entity. The only thing in front of me was this giant pyramid, almost luring me in just by looking at it. It almost felt as if this is exactly where they wanted me to be. On my way towards the entrance of the pyramid, we also got to see 2 new messages to translate, which I took the liberty of doing already. The first pillar, located close to where I was teleported to, has 5 lines of symbols translating to the following. Welcome traveler, you arrived, but not alone. Place of chains ahead, friend and foe inside. The second pillar, next to the entrance of the pyramid, only had 3 lines, translating to Pyramid of Chains, built to protect, truth lies ahead. Now, I'm not someone who jumps to conclusions fast, but in my mind, this could confirm the theory that we were meant to come here all along. That is, if the text on the first pillar is referring to us specifically, it could also just be a general message, kind of like a welcome sign to anyone passing by. The same can be said about the second pillar, acting like a sign describing the pyramid structure, what it is, why it was built, and so on. One line in particular, though, stood out to me, which was friend and foe inside. There's 2 reasons for this. 1, could player 541 be the friend we're looking for inside? And 2, who else is in there? We find out the answer to one of these questions inside, as when I entered, I could see a vague figure standing in the distance, just observing the area I was in. I tried getting a better look, but before I could really see anything, the figure turned around and walked away, leaving me inside the pyramid with what seems like a pressure plate mechanism. Now at first, it may look pretty straightforward, but I think we need a very specific combination of pressure plates to be activated for something to happen here. I mean, why else would there be multiple, right? The only question is, what's the correct combination, and even if there is one, who's not to say it's supposed to be done in a specific order? At this point, part of me has no idea what to do next, but something also tells me that this is exactly where we need to be. All of us, just figuring this out. There's a reason we've been led all the way here, and I really don't think we'd be observed by this entity if none of this was planned at all. But this is where you guys come in. I am 100% certain that the answer to this puzzle is hidden within everything we've seen and know so far, so I need everyone together to figure this one out. Any leads or answers you may have, let them be known, because I think the answer to finding player 541 lies beyond this white chamber. Now, until we have a possible solution, I'm going to be digging deep into all the evidence we've gathered so far, and when I find something, which I will, you guys will be the first to know.